The movie Sound of Freedom continues to soar, making a positive impact around the world, even though most of our international friends have been unable to see the movie. And in today's episode, we go deep down the rabbit hole on the apparent fraudulent activity and foul play associated with the movie and the people who funded it. What is that information? What are the accusations? Is it accurate? And should we care? Sound of Freedom update time. Coach's Archives. Let's go. Before I get into today's video, I want to share with you guys that I released this video here earlier today. It is about how fewer Americans believe in God, how it's happened, why it's happened, and what we could do about it. Go check it out. So what is all of this noise about the fraud, about the foul play, about the people who funded the movie? Looking at comments and looking at social media, there is a contingency of people who are against this movie outright. Now, does that mean that they're against child trafficking? Of course not, even though I'm sure that some of them are. So we really want to key in here and look at these accusations and weigh in. Are these accusations believable? Is there evidence to support these accusations? And should you care? Okay, it's rabbit hole time. Let's look at the accusations.
Who's paying for this movie to come about?
A great group of people have come together to invest in this production. Some of them, the Carlos Slim family is involved.
Many people are opposed to the movie Sound of Freedom outright because of the movie's Carlos Slim connection. Many times he's been called the richest man in the world. He has been accused for years of being a billionaire, corrupt Mexican official with direct ties to the Clinton Foundation. He has also been accused in the past of child trafficking himself, murder, and being the biggest drug lord in Mexico, among many other things. And he will not be coming to my daughter's tea party. Just trying to lighten the mood. In the past, Carlos Slim has worked closely with the Clinton Foundation. The Clinton Foundation has worked with Laura Silsby, the Baptist missionary arrested and convicted for child trafficking in 2010 following the devastating earthquake in Haiti, known as the New Child's Life refugee case. So overall, the main message here is that the people who funded and financed the film during production are tied to drug cartels, murder, pedophilia, human trafficking. Now that we have the accusations, let's look and see what we know. We know for a fact that Carlos Slim financed the film. That is indisputable. We also know that Slim has an influence here in the United States. He bought a stake in the New York Times back in 2008, and he has increased that stake over time. But we also know Slim has expressed firm support for philanthropy and has advised budding entrepreneurs that businessmen must do more than give. Slim is on record telling young businessmen and rich people that they shouldn't just give to charitable donations that help solve problems, they should actually participate in them. Don't get it twisted, I'm not trying to say that he's a saint. At one time, Slim joined former President Bill Clinton as they launched an anti-poverty campaign in Latin America. He's caught a lot of heat in the past as he's been named the world's richest man on 4 different occasions, while also taking the stance that education and jobs can fight poverty better than charity. That being said, he has donated billions of dollars to multiple nonprofits around the world. Those are the things that we know about Carlos Slim. Now we have to look and see, what do we know about Operation Underground Railroad in a post-Tim Ballard presence, as he is no longer with the organization. Operation Underground Railroad is still claiming to have saved over 4,000 kids currently. O.U.R is still claiming to have positively impacted over 7,000 kids around the world. O.U.R still claims that their work has led to over 6,000 arrests being made. And I want to take a moment to stress that O.U.R is still saying these things after Tim Ballard has left the organization. That will be a factor later in the video. In 2019, Tim Ballard, under oath, speaking before Congress, said, "Through my decade on the border as a human trafficking expert for the federal government, I participated in dozens of cases and operations that uncovered human trafficking rings and discovered human smuggling processes across the border. We were fortunate to rescue many victims, and I'm proud that we put so many criminals behind bars." Something else that we know, O.U.R has denied being involved in any conspiracy, whether it be during Tim Ballard's time there or not. And many people opposed to the film have said things like, "This entire story is false. This entire story has been fictionalized. Tim Ballard and O.U.R hasn't saved anyone." And of course, there are mountains of evidence and receipts to suggest all of these things actually happened with O.U.R, and you could actually go back to 2014 and see the actual news broadcasts. And in the near future, we're actually going to meet many of the children who were saved by O.U.R. And we also know that Tim Ballard spoke before Congress and had the following to say. Since leaving the federal government, I have continued the fight against human trafficking as the founder and CEO of the anti-trafficking organization Operation Underground Railroad, or O.U.R., working hand in hand with law enforcement agencies around the world. Operation Underground Railroad has rescued 1,765 victims and assisted in the arrest of nearly 900 traffickers. O.U.R. continues to fight to end human trafficking with full-time operations in 20 countries and 22 states. So those are the things that we know, and now I gotta offer you guys my take. This movie was tied up for 5 years, unable to be released as it faced an inordinate amount of problems. Since the movie debuted at the cinema, there has been an onslaught of media attack against it. It stands to reason with the media and their agenda that if they could even get close to proving, if they could make anybody think that they could prove this fraudulent activity with the movie happened and occurred, that they would definitely be running with those stories. So where are those stories? I don't see them. So let's take a moment and key in here on Carlos Slim and all of that. It is an absolute fact for me that Carlos Slim is somebody who makes me raise my eyebrows. It is also a fact that Slim helped finance the movie, getting it into pre-production back years ago. And while I do think that his involvement with this movie in any way is really bad optics for the movie itself, we have to keep in mind that Angel Studios had nothing to do with Carlos Slim in the pre-production of this film. Don't forget, folks, Angel Studios got the rights for this movie not long ago and was finally able to get it released. And people who cover this, media, content creators here on YouTube, that's a truth that they conveniently forget. Would I have gone to many other people to help me fund this movie in the beginning? Absolutely. Would any of them be someone like Carlos Slim? Absolutely not. And while my antenna has been raised because Carlos Slim was involved in the pre-production of this movie and Sound of Freedom at all, I also have to take a step back and realize that Carlos Slim is one of the richest people in the world and has a track record of philanthropy. In fact, Forbes, even though we don't like them, has named Slim one of the largest givers of charities in the world multiple times over. When I was researching for this and going through the mountain of videos, seeing what everybody has to say and what they're showing, I was alarmed by how many of those content creators were using screenshots of Twitter comments as evidence. That's not evidence, that's opinion. And one of the main talking points that I've seen from the people who are opposed to Sound of Freedom because of the apparent fraudulent activity is that it has to be true because Donald Trump is not supporting the movie. People are literally saying that in their videos, and they're not just saying it, it's a cornerstone. It's a main point of emphasis for that video. And as you know, Donald Trump watched Sound of Freedom with Jim Caviezel, with Tim Ballard, and he praised it publicly. And Donald Trump took it a step further, saying that if he gets reelected, he's going to give the traffickers the death penalty. So when I see content creators who use that in their video, then I go look at the videos that they did after that. I want to see if they redact that. I want to see if they actually took corrective actions, give an update to their audience. Not one of them. Not one single person. That is a tremendous error for somebody who is creating content on news and information for their audience. Content creators have to do better than that. Something else that influencers are doing to spin this whole thing, they're playing 15-second long clips from the media when they first reported that Tim Ballard and O.U.R. were under investigation.
Because this is an ongoing criminal investigation, both sides are very limited in what they are saying. But Fox 13 News has learned that prosecutors are looking into several allegations.
A clip just like the one you just saw being used in an anti-Sound of Freedom movement can have a big negative impact on the uninformed. Why are they not playing the video where Tim Ballard and O.U.R. were sentenced? Why are they not playing the video where they were found guilty? Because those videos don't exist. And unfortunately, we live in a world today where the media and the public will smack the guilty label on somebody just when they're being investigated. Investigated means looking into. That's all. Now, a lot of people are saying that every single person who is opposed to Sound of Freedom is a proponent of pedophilia, and that is ridiculous. Obviously, pedophiles are not going to be supporting the Sound of Freedom movie, but that doesn't mean that every single person who is against this movement because they have a hang-up about one of these things we're talking about in today's episode is stopping them from supporting the movie. That doesn't mean that they're a pedophile. Now, if you don't support freeing people from slavery and bondage, what we're calling trafficking, then you have major issues. Many people are also hung up on the fact that Tim Ballard is a Mormon. He's never hid it from anyone. He talks about his faith. There are other people at Operation Underground Railroad who happen to be Mormon as well. That being said, O.U.R. claims they have no affiliation with LDS, and they even have people in their organization who are atheist and all kinds of other religions. So I'm a Christian. He's a Mormon. We don't jive. But it doesn't take away from all of the good that he has done in the world. I don't care if he belongs to Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. Good job, Tim. And of course, as the days go on, there's more media spin, and we see the latest here from Looper. They report, unfortunately, this fervor has overflowed into absurd allegations. Like viewers accusing AMC theaters of trying to tank the movie by turning the lights on during screenings or turning off the air conditioning. These are just a few of the many conspiracy theories surrounding Sound of Freedom. If you haven't already, add Looper to the list of media that you don't trust because they turn a blind eye to truth and evidence. The ultimate point in our episode today is that God could use anyone for good. So for Tim Ballard and the entire Operation Underground Railroad, and whatever their shortcomings may be, no one is perfect. The main point is that they have raised awareness in human trafficking, more awareness than has ever been raised. The world is waking up. If you do not support the Sound of Freedom movie because you were hung up on several of the issues presented here, I understand that, and that is well within your right. And for those people, if you want to help the anti-trafficking movement, there are multiple organizations such as A21, the Tim Tebow Foundation, and Samaritan's Purse that you could donate to and help this worthy cause. If you don't support the global anti-trafficking movement, I understand that too, and you are evil to the core. There is no question that we are all very different, and many of you folks watching this video have probably done a whole lot more good in the world than I have, and I thank you for that. But God could use any of us for the good. Martin Luther King Jr. was a hero of the 20th century. He was the leader of the civil rights movement, and we wouldn't be who we are today as a nation without him. He actively carried out the message of Jesus Christ with love and peace. He also had a terrible problem with extramarital affairs and even preached against adultery, making him a huge hypocrite. Yet God still used him for a lot of good. And all of this brings to mind the words of Jesus Christ when he says in John chapter 8, verse 7, "Let he who is without sin cast the first stone." I pray that the good Lord rains down blessings on you, your life, your family, and your loved ones. More importantly, I pray that he draws you nearer to him. All these things in Jesus' name. See y'all in the next one.